24 presents The Better Man.
This is Gary Butterfield.
This is Cole Ross.
And I love this episode of the show.
Yeah, we are preparing to Kino escalate and avoid a freeze out.
Yeah, back when MRA speak could be funny.
Yeah, back before it presaged just awful stuff. Yeah.
A pre-Elliot Rogers world.
Yeah.
Hank doing it.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know?
I am, I am willing to accept Hank as somebody who has fundamental misunderstandings about the ways humans are supposed to interact.
Isn't he ever ashamed of his ignorance?
All the time, constantly. Yeah.
Yeah, constantly. This episode was written by Doc Hammer and originally aired December 6th, 2009. Mm-hmm. And this is our Orpheus episode for the season.
Yeah, we get an Orpheus episode that happens to concern itself with traversing the plains and magic and monsters and things like that, but also is really human and relatable and sweet. It talks about his family issues. A couple things are coming to a head here. Primarily his sense of inferiority. He has this jealousy over the fact that his ex-wife has moved on to somebody who not only is younger but also appears to be outperforming him professionally. Let's say.
Yes. Yeah. This is to me. This is kind of the ideal of a Doc episode in some ways. The conversational side of him, like him setting out to make an episode about the very relatable thing about meeting your ex's new romantic interest and like realizing they're just a person.
Yeah, that's
a very human thing to do. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting kind of structure to build a kids adventure cartoon around.
And like more broadly, like that's kind of the centerpiece of this. But like this is really an episode about, how do you come to accept that maybe the only thing holding you back or the only thing that's really in your way is yourself, Yeah. Like kind of, we have three different people who end up putting aside an idea of what their life was going to be like in order to move on. Right. Recognizing that they were maybe some of the source of their own misery to a certain extent. And that is that is incredibly powerful as an idea.
Yeah. And they're wrapping up the Triana stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, she was never going to end up with Dean. Mm-hmm. Sorry, people out there in internet land. And she's too sensible for the world. Like she's a grown up. We have Hank and, they say in the art book, like Hank and Dean are kind of stuck in this world, but Triana isn't. Like she's at the age where you should go to college, go off and do things. So they need to have her do it because otherwise she was just going to spend the entire time like snowballing Dean. Yeah. Snowballing, freezing them out. I don't know what snowballing means.
I think snowballing is when you take the product of doing oral sex on somebody with a penis and then you kiss them and put that product back in their mouth. I think that is snowballing. Yeah.
Well, we all know the Clerk's definition of snowballing. But don't business guys say it? Like, don't snowball me on this deal.
Sandbagging. Sandbagging.
Sandbagging might be what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
And a snowball and a sandbag are not that different. Just as far as like
Gary,
small portions of particulate matter.
Okay. In that one way, they're very similar.
Made up of small things.
Yeah.
It's both collections of little things.
Yeah. Yeah. If you got a flood coming in, you got to put a bunch of snowballs up against the walls.
I think you could put up a little snow fort to save you from the flood.
No. Yeah. It's just all you're doing is popping a nice cube of ice into the cooler for whatever God is going to come and drink you up.
Yeah.
I assume that's why things flood is because God's thirsty.
God's making a mocktail. Yeah. Of the human existence. He makes a mocktail out of the entire human experience.
This
man makes a mockumentary of this college.
But but the idea being like, like she will be basically like effectively like ghosting Dean the entire time. Just like she doesn't want to commit to him. Like they enjoy each other's company. It's sweet, but like it's not there's it's not reciprocated, right? There's really
she kind of likes him. Like when she's talking to the master, she talks about how she could see getting into it. Like this is the master talking her out of settling. Like her rounding down or rounding up rather. And like, that's a thing that's real. Yeah. It's a thing people do. It's a very like emotionally kind of complicated episode for like a thing where magic people fight Cthulhu. It's a real good one.
Yeah.
So she leaves, she goes and learns magic at her mom's house, and they kept talking about, how they had ideas for that being funny.
Yeah.
Everything being magic and it just being fucking exhausting.
Just you go to set your drink on a table and it walks away. And it's like, sick and tired of this Harry Potter bullshit, I think was the line that I saw in the art book.
and I've thought about that before too. Like the idea that if all my end tables like anticipated my needs, how uncomfortable that would make me.
Yeah.
I need some things to be dormant. Like inanimate objects.
I really need this to be inert. What I don't want is the talking toilet from season 1 of Better Call Saul.
No. Good job. Fill me up.
Where does it end?
Fill me up.
I made this for my children.
That great bit.
Oh God. Yeah. So, but yeah, they kept on joking about that. We get a little bit more Triana, kind of at the end of this season in a very sweet way. But it makes sense for her to go on and be her own person, not to be limited by living in her dad's house. You got to grow up, and it's a mature episode about how do people become more mature.
Yeah. The script for this came back really long, so they had to speed it up and kind of pitch it down a little bit. And they talk about, in the art book, Doc is really talking about how he's not sure if he got across all his ideas.
Yeah.
In this, I think it works just fine, but it is dense.
Yeah.
Like it's doing a lot. It's not the episode of the show I would show somebody who had never seen the Venture Brothers before. I think you have to have kind of an idea of where these characters are starting.
You really have to, I mean, especially with Orpheus, it would be really easy to see him in particular as a caricature, especially next to some of these other characters. I mean, at least the Ventures, who by this point are a little bit more like rounded out and actual, people kind of things. Like understanding that Orpheus is this Mr. Rogers, who is an incredibly good father, but like, again, as standing in his own way, in a lot of ways. Father. What's that? Yeah, well-meaning father. Yeah, let's say that. But has his hang-ups and stuff. Like understanding that that's where he's coming from when it gets into this. It does help you appreciate it a little bit more. And I think that I can understand why he would be like concerned that he didn't get all of this, all of it in. I think that makes this work on repeated viewings. Actually, really, pretty well. I appreciate this a little bit more each time that I see that, and then that's not generally the case for a lot of the episodes.
Dense episode.
Yeah.
We have a cold open here where Torrid, we haven't seen Torrid in a while, the archenemy of the Order of the Triad, is opening a portal to hell while the Order of the Triad hides on a balcony from them discussing their plans.
I love these hapless dipshits so much.
It's so good. Like, I'm getting kind of scared. I'm kind of at a 9. We should all be at a 10.
Okay, well, if we're going Bo Derek on this,
I'll be an 8. Like it's so funny. Like I don't want to die doing something dorky. Like it's. I love the Order of the Triad so fucking much. Like, what a perfect combination of like voice actors and performances. They are.
I just also love like how much more committed Orpheus is to all of this. Like Jefferson's just like yelling at Torrid like to stop being such a dick. And
Alchemist does. He's like, you're being a pud. Yeah, knock it off. Nobody wants you to open a portal to hell.
Knock it off, you dingbat.
Who does that? Yeah, who does that? What a dick.
Yeah. just like both of them do, but I love that Alchemist frames it as like, okay, I want to try one last thing before we fight. Stop being a pud.
Yeah, just telling him. do that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Torrid doesn't do this and summons a Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Like it's very Cthulhu. It's muscular Cthulhu rather than fat Cthulhu, but I'll still accept him.
Yeah.
You know?
It looks more like a star spawn to me. It's
Sure.
small. Cthulhu's like the size of a city,
Yeah. So this guy gets bigger.
Does he?
You know?
Oh yeah, he does get bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does get a little bit bigger. He doesn't get city size though. He stays contained in this chamber with the cool glass pyramid. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like this is remarked on later, but as always happens, the guy who opens the portal is the first victim of whatever he summons. Cthulhu comes down, grabs Torrid, and throws him into hell, into the second world.
They're like, well, guy just killed Torrid. What do we do?
They work so hard to get that arch.
Yeah, 100%. They're going to do the fight. The Jefferson Twilight jumps in to the fight, gets grabbed by a tentacle. He's stabbing. His ribs are all broken. He's like, kill me. Like, I don't want to die in hell. Orpheus tries to shoot him with fire, but it just makes him slightly bigger, which is great. It seems like all is lost.
Yeah.
And then the Outrider pops out.
Yeah.
Emerging from the portal, stabbing the monster in the eye, and it explodes in energy. The Outrider, kind of like a Solomon Kane.
Yeah.
Kind of figure in terms of mythology, like cool witch hunter on a nightmare.
Yeah, real hotshot vibes. And he rides a black steed named Black Thunder. And he's real cocky too. Like he doesn't like, aha, don't worry. Like it just with a burst of energy, he revives Jefferson. Like, oh, he was just dead. He'll be fine. Oh, black lightning, and then goes away.
The way he does, he was just dead. He was just dead. Like it's such a great little brag. Al says, "Call me," and Orpheus is pissed. What is that? It's like instinct. He's adorable. Like And the Jefferson, he's like, don't you realize who that is? It's the man who stole my wife. And that's where we get our little credits, our little title sequence.
Yeah, just the dramatic Orpheus delivery of that's the man who stole my wife.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. And we cut over. We've got Dean getting dressed up in his 1978 brown suit. That is almost the exact same like color and tint as his hair, which is never a good choice.
Browns, like the 70s were huge for browns.
Oh God.
Hank is trying to kind of, he sees right through it. Yeah. He says there's no reason, he's dressing up. It's because Orpheus and Triana are arranging lawn furniture on the lawn there. And Hank's like, it's about time you admit it. They're talking about their clothing and everything. There's a great little line here too. I wanted to capture the subtitle where, for Twitter goals, where Dean's like, I, for one, am enjoying our new sedentary lifestyle. It's just like, preach it, Dean. Preach it, Dino.
Yeah. But we've got Hank in full long hair mode and Brock's shirt. But he says like admit it, Dean. He thinks we're talking about Triana because they're out there setting up stuff on the front yard. No, he's not talking about that. Admit it, I can still rock a kerchief. He gets into his old clothes and puts on his kerchief again.
I like that. Kerchief's back.
Yeah.
We cut to Jefferson running through a training course being proctored by the alchemist, cutting down cardboard monsters. The first one, which is straight up an actionable Dormammu. No longer
just
around.
implied. Yeah, they're just a bunch of Bela Lugosi Draculas.
Yep. Doesn't kill the woman with the baby, as we all know through police training things. And he gets 85% because he biffed it for killing Matthew Lesko. That's something kids, no one listening, like a bunch of people not listening to this don't know who that is.
Yeah,
I guarantee it.
I like those commercials do still run. It's like late night cable. Matthew Lesko is a man. You would recognize him. And it's called attention to here. The reason that Jefferson Twilight slashed at him because he does dress like the Riddler. He wears incredibly colorful suits that are printed with question marks. And what Matthew Lesko does is like he publishes these books that you can buy that are like simple government grants that you can like apply for as just a regular person. Just basically a way to get free money from the government. Like you buy this copy of Tips and Tricks magazine, except instead of video games, it's a way to get like a rebate on your power bill.
Yeah, it's a way to write grant proposals, basically, to the government. And this was, I cannot stress this enough, on TV all the time.
It was ubiquitous.
Yeah, a guy who dressed like the Riddler, who looked like the Riddler, who talked like the Riddler, was popping on yelling at me as a teenager about getting free money from the government.
Yeah,
every 10 minutes of my life.
Yeah,
basically.
And when we say talk like the Riddler, like he was incredibly high energy. He was doing a full on Frank Gorshin '60s Batman Riddler.
If he wasn't a Riddler, he would be like a kid's science show host.
Yes.
Like you could see him being like Dr. Question, and like every day a new Timmy comes up and asks, like how, why do frogs jump? And then he has to explain it.
Yeah.
But he's a good guy. Al's like, no, he's a good guy. Yeah. He helps you get free money from the government.
I have heard I've looked for turns out journalism about Matthew Lesko. Apparently it's on the up and up. Like it's not a scam. Like nice. People have actually tried it. So he's not taking advantage of people. It just looks super sketchy. The new information might have come to light
either.
Yeah. Matthew Lesko never canceled.
Kind of a problematic fave you got there in Matthew Lesko.
There might be new information. It's been a few years since I looked into Matthew Lesko.
It's true. I can't even make that joke now because I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's not like what's his name, like cancer curing nutrition tips that they don't want you to know about, like that asshole. Yeah.
Matthew 100% wants you to know about it, and the government isn't really hiding it. It's just boring.
No, it's just it's just in the middle of it's just like hidden away in bills. It's just yeah. So
Jefferson's upset about this.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I don't actually have powers. Every time we're here, somebody uses magic, I die.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we all got pantsed basically.
Yeah.
by that Cthulhu. Thank God the Outrider shows up, and it cuts away at Jefferson going, don't let Orpheus hear you say that. Just love that. The relationship is very good.
Yeah. Just like, we're never going to hear the end of it. They have to dance around it. Yeah. Cut outside. We've got Rusty stepping out because there's some nonsense happening on his lawn. Orpheus is like setting up dressers outside, like in a triangle configuration with a tent in the middle. I love Rusty's line here. If I knew you were going to have a yard sale, I would have brought out Dean's ever-growing collection of Applehead dolls. Those are creepy.
Do you know what Applehead doll is?
Oh, they're fucking, they're horrifying looking. They like every single one of them comes haunted, I think.
I don't know why Dean is making like Blair Witch folk art. Like that doesn't seem very Dean to me.
No.
And it is his approach to science, but I could also see him like getting into a Littlest Pet Shop toy, some kind of toy thing.
Yeah, no, this is an Applehead doll looks like it is something that you'd capture somebody's soul in.
Yeah, it's very scary. Orpheus is like, no, this isn't a yard sale. It's a configuration to open a portal to the second world. And Triana is saying there with Dean, it's just one of my favorite lines. This is a little bit later, but it's on the notes. I don't want to miss it. Where when it doesn't work, because it doesn't work, of course, Dean's like, what was supposed to happen? And she goes, I don't know. My mom was supposed to call him on his cell phone and say he was a better kisser. That is so well observed.
Yeah. Like, what's your end game here?
I love it's very, very well observed by Triana.
Yeah.
Dean is here trying to, he's like, yeah, but the Outrider's married to my mom. I only met him once when I was like 8 and stuff. And Dean is trying to be sweet here just by being confusing. Like if I was your mom and you were your mom and I was him and you were a different you, basically. And just kind of word salads.
Yeah. I would never let mom you go. She's basically trying to kind of creepily trying to turn her fucked up family situation into like you can count on me, baby, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe not the time.
Innocently.
Yes. Yeah.
Like there's no subterfuge in Dean.
No. Triana has Simba, a little black cat on her lap. And Dean, kind of interrupts himself. He's like, ooh, can I pet your pussy? And Triana says, no, and there's no irony in that, is there? It's off just the running joke of Michael Sinterklaas saying body and questionable things in the Dean voice. Very good.
Yeah.
But Simba runs away. Your pussy hates me.
Do you think that at a certain point, kids these days won't know that pussy ever referred to cat? And it's just Vajames?
Vajames. Hi, my name is Vajames.
Vajames Sunderland?
Yeah.
The psychosexual protagonist.
Yeah, no. It's not really subliminal monster design, that really superliminal. Yeah.
Yeah. Pussy. The breeding is the superliminal Silent Hill game that I want.
Oh God. But
Guilt.
I don't know. I've never talked to a child about pussy.
Yeah. Well, sorry to hear that.
No, the only response to that is good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I assumed so. You didn't have to. But yeah, I just wonder if that's because you very rarely see pussycat.
Yeah.
Referring to a cat. It's either like a strip club or vagina.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's almost always. I mean, it's basically the extra entendre on that has been eroded. It's really been chiseled away. There's only the single entendre on pussy there. Yeah. Get a little scene over to the side. Hank is very confused. He does not understand what it means for Al to be gay. He's confused that with being trans, and asks like, oh, like, what's it look like? What's your penis look like? And they straighten him out. It makes sense for Hank not to know this. He's raised by a bigot who, he took a government. His dad took a government Yes, a bigot and a bed.
His dad got free money from the government
to try and
he's a Lefko's grandson situation.
Well, no, his dad accepted a contract to try and cure gayness.
Yeah.
So
I don't. It's very hard for me to think of this as anything problematic. Like he just doesn't understand.
Yeah, I'm not thinking of it
at
as
all. Yeah. And the show condemns him for it.
Oh, it does. They straighten him out. Like, no, those are two different things. And we alluded to this line earlier, but like, Jefferson says like, aren't you just a little ashamed of your ignorance? And Hank's just matter of fact delivery. Yeah, constantly.
Constantly.
Oh God.
The gate doesn't work. He sees some rustling in the tent that's out there, but it's Simba who has taken a fresh dump in the tent. The entire world is your bathroom.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's just Simba. She's from this world.
It's a cat, regular.
Yep. Love it. So Orpheus doesn't know what to do, so he goes into the void to talk to the master. And whenever we get the master, like I love the master on the show, one of the sad knock-on effects of not getting very much Orpheus content.
Yeah.
And this time Orpheus has taken the form of his ex-wife, Tatiana.
Or the master has taken the form of Orpheus's ex-wife, Tatiana. What's that?
What did I say?
You said Orpheus takes on the form of his ex-wife.
Oh, whoa. Yeah. It's kinky.
Hey, whatever.
No different.
Different. This is John Benjamin. There's the auto commentary, very slight in this one. But they have a fun story. They had John Benjamin in the VO booth, and he was like, okay, I'm going to take my shirt off for this one. He wanted to record this with his shirt off. Yeah. So just man, what a professional John Benjamin is.
I love him.
Yeah. But this is, we never get to see Tatiana actually. This is really all that we get. And this is the master, kind of taunting him, knowing that Orpheus is hung up, knowing that he misses his wife, and just kind of like dangling her beauty out here and just like talking about nothing but, like how just like, oh, look how amazing this body is. You stupid weenie.
Yeah, she's pushing 40, but like, look at these tits. Like these are natural C cups.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You could bounce a penis off of them. You can put a glass on this ass. It's like this, the booty still thinks it's 1993.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. It's just because he hefts the breasts, calls them natural C cups. They're like the size of her head.
Yeah, they're pretty big. Yeah. I also like at one point Orpheus says something and he just spreads his legs and goes, "Is there anything you miss?" It's so fucking crude and mean.
Yeah. Just like taunts him for being a weenie, and Orpheus is just here, like I can't get over it. I worked my entire life, trying to just perceive that there's a second world, and all of a sudden this upstart can just go back and forth whenever he wants. It's a big deal, and it makes it look like nothing. And Orpheus is bitter because the Outrider was a student of his. It was just this cocky little kid. Yeah.
The master is saying like, well, just go to him and beat him up. Whatever you do, if you don't want to do that, just stop whining. Like, you're giving me a headache. Do you have anything for this? And there's some shtick about naming different kinds of pain relievers until eventually just says, "Leave me alone," to jump rope naked in front of a mirror in your ex-wife's body.
Yeah.
Master is great.
Yeah. Well, he goes through a bunch of pain relievers and ecstasy.
Yeah. Ecstasy, Tylenol PM. Yeah. So Hank is lying around bored out of his mind because he can't hang out in the living room. His dad is resting his eyes.
Yeah.
Which is a real dad move. Mm-hmm. God, dads love to rest their eyes.
Yeah. That's right. You ever rested your eyes? That's pretty good.
It's super good, man. Mm-hmm. I fall asleep on the couch.
Yeah.
A couple of days ago, and I hadn't done that in a very long time.
Oh, it's wonderful. You ever just, I fell asleep reading a book this past weekend. It was great.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Man, falling asleep without knowing it. That's incredible.
It's either incredible or a very worrying symptom.
Yeah. This is where we eventually genetically engineer some narcolepsy for us. Like we get the narcolepsy tier on the Patreon.
Let's just induce this. Just off a gas that gives us narcolepsy. Yeah, but Dean likes this. He's like, oh, I like our sedentary lifestyle because I can hang around with Triana more. And Hank, he stops being able to indulge Dean in this in this fiction, right? And he was like, hey, I got some news for you about you and Triana. He's asking her questions. You guys hold hands? No. Have you ever kissed her? No. This is the kicker. Have you ever helped her shop for shoes? Like, you're not her boyfriend. You're just her friend. He says, Dean, she's your hag. He says in so many words, like, oh, you're friend zoned, bud.
There's a great little payoff for another little joke in here where Hank tells Dean, you can't just fall in love with the first girl you see after you leave the compound. And Dean says, you had a crush on the mail lady for 5 years. That gets a wonderful payoff.
Yeah.
When Triana comes back. Oh, hell no. It's so funny. Hank is saying, like, well, listen, I know this Wonderland where there are tons of girls, Girl Island, the mall. So they're going to go to the mall to pick up chicks.
Yeah.
Hank knows the girls, kind of. Like he's, text me. He knows their names and everything, but they're ignoring him. He's basically being a dermot.
Yeah, he's sitting on the bench, just like calling out to them as they walk by. And he's trying to put Dean through swagger school, right? Like, okay, you gotta get your pants down out of your armpits. You gotta tousle your hair. Dean says, I look like Rufio. You are the pan. And like, okay, well, here are some likely suspects. A target for you. These girls over here. And he goes into full on mystery, the game lingo. Like, okay, that blonde is showing indicators. Feigning disinterest is a clear signal. Now go engage that 2-set.
Again, this is problematic behavior in real life.
Yes.
The idea of Hank, looking at a website that Dermot gave him and just ineptly failing at all this shit.
Yep.
Like, is funny. Like, when real people do this, people get hurt.
Yeah.
When Hank does it, though, I think it's pretty corked.
Yeah. Corked like an alligator's tooth. That's
he pushes Dean towards him, and Dean's like, my brother pushed me here. You've lost your opening line, but you can still Kino escalate. Touch them. So he reaches out and touches her shoulder, closes his eyes, and by the time he opens them, they're already gone. Which is great.
Isolate your target and enter your set. I'll run wing on the remainder. It's just a freeze. And then he goes and runs away because he's mortified. And he's like, oh, it's just a freeze out. You can still engage in number close. Just like
the fucking jargon.
Yeah, I mean, just like all of that jargon, like maybe it's because I was like I first learned about this stuff back when I was playing MMOs. It all sounds like somebody talking about like doing a raid in EverQuest.
Sure. Yeah, isolate your target and enter DPS your set on that two pair. Yeah. I'll wing on the remainder is 100%. Like professional StarCraft language.
Yeah, you got to throw dots.
Yeah. So Orpheus comes out of Triana's closet where Jefferson and Al are hanging out. And I like that Orpheus actually calls out the master here. Like, did he tell you what to do? He's like, no, he just taunted me. And he's like, I like Orpheus being over it.
Yeah.
He said that I need to go beat up the Outrider, in the portal. And Al says, well, maybe he means the original portal. and this gives Orpheus some hope. He's really excited about this. But Triana is walking up and she hears them talking. In there. So she hangs out and waits for them to leave. So they have to make up this shitty story about looking at the CD collection. You can tell this is a Doc episode because Al's like, oh, I went to I can't remember what it is, Blood Club when Nick Demon was still the bouncer. It's like, it's true, he did.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's some weird New York.
It was the Bone House and then Nick Fiend or whatever. Yeah, was some the
Bauhaus shit.
Yeah. Just real scene. But also it makes sense coming from Orpheus, who would have, he's a club guy. Yeah.
Well, Al. Yeah.
Yeah. Or Al, yes, rather. Yeah. So they warp away and Triana steps in, and instead of it just being a normal closet, she actually sees the closet door kind of swing open a little bit, and it's glowing. The portal has made itself apparent to her. This isn't the first time, but it is the first time we've seen her interact with this.
Yeah. And I like, so when they teleport, so then the order teleported away, they're standing upright, but when they arrive in the pyramid, they're standing sideways and in the air.
Yep.
That is a really well-observed little teleportation joke.
Yeah.
Orpheus raises his hand towards the pyramid and it starts opening on its own. He didn't actually cast a spell yet, and Torrid flies out of it. He's no longer on fire. And the Outrider is following afterwards, and he begs to be killed. He's seen too much, end my existence. The Outrider bends over to do it, but Torrid was chumping him. Torrid's turned evil, and kills him.
Yeah. Pins him down, enchants an incantation, says abracadabra, actually, which, Jefferson is really into. Damns him, specifically, damn you for eternity, Outrider. And Torrid disappears throughout the course of casting this. And he's never really seen again. He's alluded to obliquely by Ward later on. Saying the guild can't be responsible if your arch is killed by a third party. Just you screwed it up. But the Outrider is here. Orpheus kind of kneels over him, and we have the Outrider kind of twisted and with an expression of frozen agony, like Smithers at the bottom of the coffin. And Al says, hey, this is a win-win. Torrid and the Outrider are gone. But Orpheus is just too good of a guy to leave the Outrider to this fate. They need to rescue him.
He saw the Outrider try to help Torrid and get punished for it. He's like, this is not a bad dude.
Yeah.
Triana goes into the void where the master is at the form of old Dean. Vacuuming, and this little monologue he does is great. Oh, hey honey, how are you doing? Later I might cry myself, I'm watch some TV and cry myself to sleep before waking you up to tell you that I'll kill myself if you leave me again. Horrible stuff.
He's balding. He's got bad skin. He's got kind of a paunch to him. They specifically modeled older Dean on somebody who I didn't know about. Again, just their New York centricness. Bernard Getz. In 1984, Getz was the subway vigilante in New York. Ostensibly, what happened was his version of the story was these 4 kids were trying to rob him, so he shot them with his .38 special. And it became kind of this culture war kind of thing, saying okay, well, how justified are you to use deadly force to protect yourself, basically? He was, he was, I think sentenced and convicted and stuff. It was not considered to be proportional, but it's kind of one of those
punishers.
Yes. Yeah.
This is how, and a big basis on the subway killing in the Joker as well. Yeah. Was based on this guy. Triana's confused, who are you? Yeah. And, they hear a baby cry in the background. He's like, oh, that's just our child, Rusty Jr. But since I've been cloned so many times, my gene pool is more of a cesspool. It's not really a baby. It's got this leg growing out where it would be a head on a regular baby. And if you squeeze him, poop comes out of his eyes and a little bit under his fingernails. Under the fingernails, dude.
Yeah, that detail.
That's a rough one.
Yeah. And again, I've got no idea, but because of the delivery on this, and the way that John Benjamin works, some of that could have been ad lib that they just decided to throw in because okay, describe a gross creature.
Very gross.
Incredibly good.
Triana's like, oh, Dean's a clone. And he's like, yeah, Dean's a clone. Hank is a clone. And you know this is like the 10th time you've been here.
Mm-hmm.
Your memory's getting wiped.
Yeah.
Which, no good.
Yeah. Lots of memory
Orpheus learned
wipes
nothing
happening.
from Professor X.
No.
No.
So we've got Hank kind of puttering around the parking lot. Sun's going down. He's calling for Dean, looking for him. He finds Dermot over by a dumpster. Dermot says, like, "Oh, I was here. I had to get some new heavy bag gloves because I wore through them wailing on the sack. Doing boxing training. He's wearing an apron. He's got a uniform on for big bargains. Yeah, he's working. Yeah. He was emptying the trash for closing time."
Yeah, Hank's like, "Oh, why are you wearing a big bargains apron?" And he doesn't really say anything.
He says, "I don't." No, he says, "I don't know." That's the way he brushes it off.
He's looking for Dean, Dermot's like, he's right over there by the bus stop talking to a girl, and Dean is indeed by a bus stop talking to a girl.
Yeah.
Dermot is kind of talking about all the, they go over there. The girl's already left. Dermot's talking about how he's had basically every girl in this town. So that's why he has a Canadian supermodel girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
And Dean, one of my favorite Dean things is when he talks about girls, like back in the end of the first season, where it's like, me, I got a girl back home. He was like, that's Tracy. She's a cashier. Like he's so,
she's 23.
There's like a confidence to it. That's very funny.
Yeah. It's just a real sense of propriety about it, which is fun. And Dermot basically asks, like, so are you going to make a move? It's just Dean says no.
Are you gonna pursue?
Yeah, are you gonna pursue? Dean says, well, no, I'm kind of with somebody or whatever. And Dermot says, are you married? Dean says, no. He says, well, talk to her then. You don't have to nail her. Just see what happens. Man, way to be uptight. Which is good advice.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing stopping you from talking to somebody.
Yeah. They call it out too. Like they're, Dean's like, I have to check the temperature in hell.
Yeah. Wait, did you just give good advice? Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop clocks.
We cut over to the Outrider lying on the table in Orpheus's kitchen, and the Order of the Triad is trying to figure out what to do to like bring him back. Because it's hell, you need to bring him back through the door that he went in.
So Jefferson, just as they're trying to work through all this stuff, Jefferson says, "Oh, I've got a headache. Do you have any aspirin?" And Orpheus is annoyed. He's heard this before. No, I don't have any. But then he realizes, oh, okay. What if there's a headache so bad that no medicine will take care of it? It's like, oh, the master actually did tell me something. And he kind of lifts up the Outrider's bandana, revealing that he has a trepanation scar. Trepanation being the name for the process of drilling a hole in the head. This is actually done in some instances to relieve cranial pressure. There's also like a woo, like outdated medicine kind of way, like, oh, we gotta open the skull so demons can come out.
Yeah, it was like bleeding or humors.
Yeah,
but also sometimes has a legitimate reason behind it. So they call in Billy. They kidnap him to do surgery. And it turns out there's a part of this orb in there. This is the Eye of Osiris. This is something that mummies used to put in their brains to make sure they got passage to the other world. And the Outrider figured if he could do it while he's alive, he would have that passage.
Yeah. So it's a shortcut, basically. Just a way to kind of like constantly be able to pierce the veil. Right. And like, okay, cool. Well, Billy asked, does this make me a member of the Order of the Triad? And Al's like, Triad kind of implies 3. And Billy brings up his hefty fee. And I was like, welcome to the team, champ.
Yep, I love it.
So Billy's a member of the Order of the Triad.
Honorary, special member Billy or something like that. So they have to draw him out. And this is where like we get some Doc episodes where they just say things to move quicker.
Yes.
Like this doesn't make any sense. They're like, we have to draw him out. You draw hell with hell. Like they're just making up rules as they go along.
Yeah.
But they ask everybody what the worst thing they've ever seen was. And Jefferson tells his origin story. Like, I saw my mom raped by Blackulus when I was 10. She called my name. I just stood there. It's fucking horrible.
Everybody's like, oh my God.
Yeah. It's working. So Orpheus is like, more. Billy said he saw 2 homeless dudes giving each other oral sex.
Which,
and then Al tells this.
I mean, Billy's story coming hot on the heels of what Jefferson said. Like,
yeah. It's not nearly as emotionally traumatic. I don't want to watch homeless dudes.
No,
I don't want to see any sex I didn't consent to watch.
Yeah.
Basically, like, it's all pretty rough.
Yeah.
But reminds me of the boardwalk thing when the gang goes to the Jersey Shore.
It's so funny.
It's not bad because it's gay. It's just bad because I didn't want to stumble upon two people having sex.
Yeah, I didn't want to see that. Yeah.
Private.
But then Al tells this incredibly long story that you can tell that it is that it is something that kind of that actually happens. But they say it in the commentary, like, kind of based on the story.
Yeah, it's a horrible story. It's about we've all been there when you're wiping your ass. And you run out of toilet paper and you have to look around for alternatives. It's no good. And in this situation, Al used cotton balls, which rookie mistake.
Yeah. I mean, like, good God, I can't imagine trying to flush those.
Yeah, it wouldn't work.
No.
You're thinking like a homeowner, man. The idea is to get the shit off your ass.
Okay. All right. Gary, I guess what I'm saying is you got to think 2 or 3 steps ahead. It doesn't matter if you own the home or not. If you try and flush those and you have to explain to somebody, you got other problems. You don't want to solve problems by creating problems.
You're in an emergency at the moment, though.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, I think that it's okay in that situation to concentrate on the now.
How pressed for time are you, though?
Because, say what?
How pressed for time are you, though?
You have tons of time, but like, you also don't have that many options.
Okay. All right.
And like, what if somebody's in the house? Like, what if you're not alone in the house? Like, you can't
they're
crab walk out to like look for, scout,
to go, yeah. Yeah. So
the big mistake was cotton balls because they don't form, they're individual objects.
Yeah.
They're basically a snowball or a bag of sand.
Yeah. And they pull apart,
Yeah.
So just it is a bunch of incompatible consistencies, let's say.
Yeah.
So there was a breakthrough of the containment, and he got some he got some product on his hand, and he just like by reflex brought it up to his face, and touched and got the shitty cotton stuck in his razor stubble, so he had shitty cotton all over his face.
And that's what did it. That's what pushes it over the edge.
Yep, that's what brings them into hell, is this admission. It has real, like, Billy talking about his shameful masturbation, like a greased up garbage bag, suction attachment on the handy vac kind of thing.
Yeah. Like corner vac with suction attachment or whatever it is. Very creative, Billy. So they're all frozen outside their own bodies. In this astral version of their kitchen that is upside down. It looks real cool. Mm-hmm. We cut over to Triana and the master, and the master's like, "Do you actually like Dean?" And she's like, "I don't know. I kinda, I could,
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't think I'd have to decide so fast."
Yeah.
And it was very relatable. Like the idea, like, "Oh, I could."
Yeah.
Like that is a real thing, especially when you're young and you're figuring out what romance like is.
Yeah.
The master says, like, you need to either, shit or get off the pot. Like, you have to set this guy free. Did you know he's uncircumcised? Because Mr. Baldy's always going to be wearing a turtleneck. And she's like, "Oh, do I have to break his heart?" He says, "No, you don't have to break his heart, but you do have to clean his penis with a Q-tip."
Yeah.
Which isn't like a wifely duty or anything.
No, that's kind of your domain there. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still very funny to me.
Yeah, just like just the master is still hung up on the old topic where Triana's gotten to the emotional truth of it. It's kind of like, oh God, like I really don't want to do this. I don't want to hurt this person who I like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but just he's the master's a little bit selling past the clothes. He is pushing her toward her destiny, right?
Yeah. Exactly. That's his move.
Yeah. Like you need to get on with your life too. It's not just about letting him go. You have the gift. Anybody else who saw that closet, it would just be a closet, but for you, it's a portal. Like you need to go and train. You need to develop this talent. Triana says, "Oh, my dad kind of wants me to go to art school." And I love this line. Because the master says, "Forget your dad. He's trying to save you from his life, not yours." That is so good.
That's a really good line.
And like it's a little bit, I mean, it is a kind of that is a kind of well-meaning but still damaging parenting, where you are trying very, very hard. You're fighting the last battle, right? You're trying very hard to steer your kid away, from things that went wrong for you, right?
Yeah. So he says, instead of doing this, you should go to your mother and start your training to be a sorceress. And Triana's like, oh, this makes so much sense.
Yeah.
We cut over to the Outrider walks in hell, with the Order of the Triad. Jefferson is just frozen. He has not transitioned, and neither is Billy.
Right.
And they're like, Al is like, oh, this doesn't seem very hell-like. And then Simba jumps on the table and is like, I don't like dry cat food. Tell your daughter stop pegging me near my tail. And then jumps up on the ceiling and walks backwards. And Al's like, that's more like it. Very good.
Yup. Incredibly good. I just love it, just like casually walking away around the corner of the counter.
Very
there.
funny.
Yeah. And Orpheus, he apologizes to Outrider, like, hey, I'm really sorry I was so petty about this, right? And the Outrider, again, bringing truth back to Orpheus, says, I idolized you. I trained under you. I was jealous of your power, but that was before I realized everything that you gave up to get it. You sacrificed everything, and I wasn't ready to do that. So that's why I took a shortcut, and incredibly human.
It's very human. It also, the way the show kind of works, Outrider is correct. Mm-hmm. Like usually the moral you get from these kind of things is that it is always better to like put in the work. Mm-hmm. This is a powerful anti-college episode.
Yeah.
Between that and then like, you're just going to get an art degree. And then in the book being like, I promise you that's the least useful. A magic degree, even in the real world, is more useful than an art degree.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Exist.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, it's just whether you do good work or not.
Yeah.
And then the Outrider, getting the girl, getting the family life and everything like that by not sacrificing everything. Mm-hmm. This is a very like, hey, use the tools at your disposal.
Yeah.
Like, don't let principle get in the way of happiness.
Yeah. Or
not always, but in this specific situation.
Or understand that you can't have multiple priorities. If something is priority, it is the first. There can only be one, Yeah. And so like, you sacrifice this. That's a choice that you made. And it doesn't make sense to be upset about it because that's a choice that you made. Like, maybe I'm with your wife and it works because we shared a priority. I wanted family and you had family. Yeah. You had family, but it just, it didn't line up. That's one of the fundamental ways that people can differ,
100%.
And it just incredibly emotionally literate here. Yeah.
Yeah. While he's having this conversation, his nose and his ears keep falling off. Every time he does, he goes, hell, which I really like. And I like Al picking up his ear and saying, you dropped your dino damage. Those Jurassic Park toys that had real dino damage. That commercial lives in my head forever.
I just love that. Just the patch of skin that you could take off just to have little gory dinosaurs.
Because somebody watched Jurassic Park and thought it was largely about exposing dinosaurs' ribs to the air.
Yeah, no.
Because that's largely what you do with dino damage.
Yeah. Oh, man. And I was like, hey, like all of this is really sweet, but we really should get back to the real world. It's not really that good in hell. And, the Outrider says, we're trapped. Like in order to move, you need to be between worlds. You guys.
Again, just kind of saying rules.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're being arbitrarily made up on the spot.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but they're bickering about removing the Eye of Osiris. Was it Torrid's fault, et cetera, et cetera. And that also just they turn it to Torrid and they say the line like everybody knows that the guy who opens the portal always dies. It's villain 101. They're interrupted by Jefferson. Like he calls out, he can hear them.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is very sweet. Like he's got a little bit of magic. He's between worlds. So like you have to reach out. He barely vibrates his arm a little bit. You have to really lean into it. But this is how he warps everyone back. Very sweet moment for Jefferson.
Yeah.
It made me really wish that there was more Order of the Triad in the rest of the series.
Yeah.
So this is how they can warp back. So we go to Dean waking up Rusty, who's resting his eyes, sleeping in the living room. And this is really sweet. I love this little bit. He's like, hey, did Triana call? Rusty's like, no one's ever called for you. He's like, well, if they did, I was out with the boys. You know, like again, that very confident Dean, like, I was just doing this.
Yeah.
You know, if it's really cute, and Rusty kind of being like, okay, son, you know, like just kind of like seeing this new side of him. It's very sweet.
Yeah. I mean, Dean's riding high in the saddle because he's not, you know, using his energy pining for her. Like I was out with the boys, like, oh, I had this life outside of this relationship that I didn't realize was defining and setting these, you know, kind of barriers for me. Sweet.
And outside of the compound.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it's great. It's a very sweet little moment.
We did teenage boy stuff. We talked about girls in a mall parking lot.
Yeah, we talked about engaging two sets. Back in Orpheus's kitchen, the Outrider and the Order are all hanging out telling war stories. This is very sweet. Again, having drinks, it's very relatable. Triana pops up and says, like, "Hey, can we talk?" And that's our cut to credits.
Yeah,
because we know what she's going to ask.
Yeah.
And our post-credit scene is kind of two parts. Like, one, Triana packing her things, and Orpheus, you know, doting on her, like, hey, if the phone doesn't work, you have email. You can also always send a psychic projection.
Yeah. The Outrider asks Jefferson to hand him his bag, and Jefferson's like, ooh, I can magic it over to you. And Al rightfully says, we're never going to hear the end of this.
Very sweet.
Yeah.
You know, Al says, oh, we're going to throw a big party in your empty house. Dean pulls Triana away, and he says, this is, again, very sweet. He's like, I think we should see other people because long distance relationships are so rough. And this is perfect for her. This is her opportunity to spare his feelings and do what she really wants to do.
Yeah. So she gives him a chaste smooch, you know, just like a goodbye kind of thing. And of course, he's like, he changes his mind, but we can try and make distance work. But no, it's diffuse. She says, oh, there are too many girls waiting in line. I can't hog you all to myself. And then we get Dean's confident little, true.
Yeah. It's very sweet. I also really like the way that he backpedals as well. With this, that also feels very well observed. Like, the way that your mood around things like romance can change. One day you're like, oh, of course I can do this. Like, I can be with anybody. Yeah. And then later when prom comes along, he's like, yeah, but you know, he briefly retreats into safety. Yeah. He doesn't take off entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think, again, very, very, you said earlier, emotionally illiterate. That is a good way to put it this episode, I think.
Yeah. I love it. It is a really good episode. You know, there are lots of, you know, there are fun goofs in it, but like, yeah, this is sweet and human, you know?
Yeah. Very good. Love it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite episodes of the season. Next episode is the finale of the first half.
Yes.
Of season 4. We're not going to do anything special. It just is.
Yeah. We'll do the cut scenes, or the deleted scenes or expanded scenes at the end of this the season. We'll do both of them together. But yeah, we're going to be kind of introduced to Monstroso next time, kind of being an arc villain here.
And Brock coming back.
Oh yeah, Brock's back.
Super big news. Yeah. Looking forward to that. Several people have sounded off whether they like the idea of us doing influences and stuff on the show, and it's been largely positive. Yeah. If you think that's the dumbest idea in the world, your silence has damned you. Yeah. Because you didn't say anything. So at some point we'll probably do some stuff like that. Yeah. You know, we'll slow it down a little bit. I don't want to like end have the last episode of the show being the fucking Iger sanction. No. So at some point we're going to start kind of spreading things out a little bit. Slowing it down. Yeah. So that'll be fun. Johnny Quest, Iger sanction.
Sharky's machine.
Yeah.
It's going to be so boring and dumb.
Well, Sharky's machine will. I think I have high hope for the Iger sanction. Yeah. The guy who's the guy named Dragon who gets all his blood pumped continually. Like that seems like that's gotta be good. Yeah. That's a powerful idea.
Oh man. If you'd like to help us out, you can go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, get episodes a week early, and also get access to bonus content, whole other shows, episodes, things like that. It's a good time.
Yeah. We appreciate it. Ratings, reviews on Apple Podcasts or Podcast Addict are also appreciated.
Yeah. And tell your friends. Word of mouth is really the only way we have to grow.
Please. Yeah. And until next time,
go Team Venture.